Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, depending on what time you're watching this. It is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. It is 11:35 at night. Okay, this is part 12, Daniel steals the cottage. I'm firing all your domestic help today, Abe said without ceremony, and Cooper laughed at him. As Livermore left the room expressionlessly, it was as though nothing had been said at all. Cooper took a sip of the champagne and set the glass down on a marble table he'd bought in Venice when a friend's palazzo had been sold. There's a novel idea. How did you come up with that? Shouldn't we just crucify them, or maybe shoot them, perhaps? Why fire them? It's so middle class. I'm serious. They've got to go. We just paid their salaries. They hadn't been paid in 3 months, and we can't pay them again. We can't keep up this kind of overhead, Coop. There was a sudden plaintive note in the accountant's voice, as though he knew that nothing he could say or do would make Cooper take him seriously. He always felt as though someone had pressed the mute button when he was talking to Coop. I'm going to give them notice today. They've got to be out of here in 2 weeks. I'm leaving you one maid. How marvelous. Can she press suits? Which one are you going to leave me? He had 3 maids, as well as a cook and the houseman who'd served lunch. Livermore, the butler, 8 gardeners, and a driver he used part-time for important events. It took a lot of staff to run his enormous house, although he could have done without most of them, but he liked being well-served and indulging himself. We're leaving you Paloma Valdez. She's the cheapest one, Abe said practically. Which one's she? Coop glanced at Liz. He couldn't remember anyone by that name. 2 of them were French. Jean and Louise. He knew who they were, but Paloma didn't ring any bells with him. She's the nice Salvadorian I hired last month. I thought you liked her, Liz said, as though speaking to a child, and Coop looked confused. I thought her name was Maria. At least I've been calling her that, and she didn't say anything. She can't run this whole house. That's ridiculous, he said pleasantly as he glanced back at Abe. Coop looked remarkably unruffled by the news. You have no choice, Abe said bluntly. You have to fire the help, sell the cars, and buy absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. Not a car, not a suit, not a pair of socks, not a painting or a placemat for the next year. And then maybe you can start to dig yourself out of the hole you're in. I'd like to see you sell the house, or at the very least rent a gatehouse, and maybe even a part of this house, which would bring some money in. Liz tells me you never use the guest wing in the main house. You could rent that out. We could probably get a big price for it and for the gatehouse. You don't need either of them. Abe had put considerable thought into it. He was very conscious about what he did. That's all for part 12, chapter 1, Daniel Steal the Cottage. Thank you for watching.